Naomba tuketi, asanteni sana. Kwanza kabisa natambua wote ambao mmefika hapa na ile nafasi mnashikilia kwa kikao hiki. Na ya tatu ni kusema nimeleta salamu za Mheshimiwa Rais, kiongozi wetu President William RUTO amewasalamia. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's my great pleasure to join you at this centenary celebration marking 100 years of service, the Kenyan tea, of serving the Kenyan tea to the rest of the world. I am particularly delighted to welcome our visitors who are present here today from every part of Kenya, and particularly those who have come out of Kenya. I warmly welcome you, those who have come from outside Kenya, to our beautiful country, and more so our coastal city of Mombasa. And on that note, I was also with my brother, the governor of Mombasa. I think he is engaged in another function with this town. He has sent his greetings and apologies as well. It is my hope that while you are here, those of you who have come from outside Kenya, you will get to enjoy the ambience, comfort, and tranquility of Mombasa, the world's premier holiday destination and the true home of Hakuna Matata. Ladies and gentlemen, I take note of the fact that these celebrations were preceded by the Tea Heritage Week held in Karatina University. I am informed that that university event gave the sector players an opportunity to share information on various innovations in tea production and showcase the Kenyan tea as our national heritage. I congratulate the organizers for the inventiveness of the program that has integrated the cultural and social experience with a formal structured segment. I will not belabor you with Kenya's tea history. It has already been highlighted from 1903 to 1924, and therefore I will skip that bit of my speech and continue to say that we have come a long way in the tea journey, and even as the minister said, our Minister for Agriculture, it took the fight of those who fought for your independence, for our independence, to get us grow tea, as well as other crops, cash crops like coffee. And therefore, tea is not only our very unique exports, it's not only our gold and the treasure of our country, but tea is also part of our national heritage and is embedded in the struggle for the freedom and liberation of our country. 84 years today after tea was commercialized, we have made exemplary strides as a country. Today, tea growing cuts across 21 counties, supporting over 800,000 farmers and more than 6.5 million people, directly or indirectly, are economically supported by tea. Tea, as has been said, contributes to about 2% of our GDP. It is only third after diaspora remittances and as well as tourism. Today, our tea has grown in terms of quality and safety, and one of the reasons why our tea continues to maintain its quality and safety, it is because it is grown in natural conditions. with very little chemical input. Kenyan tea, just like our athletes, is a globally recognized and outstanding brand. I appreciate what the Tea Board of Kenya is doing and the other stakeholders to market our tea abroad. And I want to commit to support that marketing campaign, and will be more than happy to join you when I can, when you go to market our tea in the places where our tea is exported. I think I have a bit more now of leverage to travel, because I have not been able to travel because of the previous national duty I was doing, which compelled me to stay within the territory of the Kenya 24 hours, 7 days a week, including on Christmas Day. I'm the only person who, for the last 2-3 years, have not been able to even go on Christmas. When you are on Christmas vacation, I am on duty, and I can see people who are familiar with that story, like Mheshimiwa Ruwaida here from Lamu. Those were some of the places I used to spend my Christmas with our frontline officers in the security sector. Therefore, as I have said, this is a very, very strong brand, our Kenyan tea, just like our athletes, and we need to leverage on that prominence of that brand to sell our tea abroad. And in many parts of the world, including the developed world, Kenyan tea is a major staple for breakfast and also for 4 o'clock refreshments in many homes. I want to congratulate all stakeholders and actors here today for the contribution you've made to make our tea what it is today. And I want to appreciate the role of the ministry, Minister, PS, Tea Board, KTDA, farmers, members of parliament who have done a good job in terms of anchoring this sector in a sound legal and regulatory framework. I salute all of you. And when I say members of parliament, both houses of parliament, National Assembly and Senate. Ladies and gentlemen, the socio-economic importance of the tea subsector cannot be gainsaid. The tea industry is not only an engine of economic growth, but is a key anchor to our sustainability and environmental conservation pursuits. Many of us here can attest to the role tea growing has played in supporting our education. Many families have educated their children in the last few decades, especially from the tea growing areas, or a place like Mombasa where the last mile of the tea marketing is done as the tea leaves our country, through the employment created in the entire supply chain, production and supply chain. Many families have educated their children from this sector. The sector has traditionally represented a major source of income and employment, especially for rural communities of our country. Smallholder farmers, many of whom are women, account for over 60% of global tea production. Women play a crucial role in the tea industry, substantially contributing to its sustainability, productivity, and community development, especially because tea is labor intensive and it provides many decent jobs, and these jobs are mostly preferred by women. Tea cultivation also promotes sustainable farming practices and environmental conservation, helping to mitigate climate change, because one of the threats now our tea farming, tea growing is facing is the threat of climate change that is disrupting weather patterns and also introducing harsh and radically different weather conditions that would affect the quality of our tea. For this reason, the government has recognized the tea subsector as a key anchor to the economy, with the bottom-up economic transformation agenda placing tea among our priority value chains. which will develop alongside other value chains like coffee, like cotton and coconut and so forth, and leather and everything else that this country can generate in the area of agriculture and livestock production. To safeguard the heritage and reputation of Kenyan tea and to ensure sustainability of the tea subsector, the government has continued to address the challenges facing the tea value chain. Chief among these is the high cost of production and processing, market access, lack of value addition, and dependence on markets that consume the CTC tea, that is the crush, tear, and curl tea. There are also challenges around quality concerns and perennial governance challenges in smallholder tea factories. The agriculture pillar in the Kenya Kwanza plan is anchored on subsidizing production rather than subsidizing consumption. This broad target is to ensure we improve agricultural productivity to guarantee food security in the country, create jobs, and increase Kenya's exports. Of significant import has been efforts to reduce the cost of production and bring higher earnings to tea farmers. In this regard, the government has, over the last 2 years, supported tea farmers to access over 180,000 metric tons of subsidized fertilizer at a subsidized price of 2,500 shillings per 50 kilogram bag. This year, the government has allocated and disbursed 2 billion shillings to support the distribution of 97,000 metric tons of subsidized fertilizer to tea farmers. Similarly, there has been remarkable progress in resolution of the governance challenges at KTDA by holding elections, which were held recently. These elections ushered in fresh new leadership. Several legal and institutional reforms have also been put in place to enhance the performance of the subsector. Currently, amendments to the Tea Act 2020 is ongoing, while some of the tea regulations required to operationalize the Act are being developed. However, ladies and gentlemen, there is much more that needs to be done. One, there are concerns about tea quality that remain a challenge to the sector as we look into the future. As the Cabinet Secretary has said, we have had cases of significant quantities of sold volumes of tea which could not be sold, the reason being issues around the quality of those volumes. Whereas the removal of minimum prices has now been effected to allow trading flexibility and the clearance of stocks, significant efforts must be made to secure quality standards. Indeed, if buyers continue rejecting our tea over quality issues, we must anticipate that tea farmers will receive lower earnings and consequently impact upon the quantity produced. The corporate governance reforms, another issue which is of concern to this sector going forward. These reforms that have been identified in the various task force recommendations over the years, as well as the expected audit findings announced by the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development, must also be prioritized. The challenge of conflict of interest in the management and operations of the various smallholder factories and KTDA should remain a core focus of the new leadership in the sector. The challenges facing tea production and tea are very many and so inextricably intertwined that effective and workable solutions should be holistic. The government will continue working with the stakeholders on market expansion for tea to new and emerging markets, while at the same time developing the traditional markets. Other support that will be provided under the bottom-up economic transformation agenda framework include supporting smallholder factories to diversify into orthodox tea with a view to reduce the pressure on CTC tea prices occasioned by oversupply. As you are aware, Kenyan farmers have traditionally relied on the conventional methods of tea production: plucking, withering, rolling, oxidation, and drying, which, while profitable, offers less income potential than value-added teas. Value addition has the potential to increase smallholder farmers' incomes when compared with non-value-added conventional tea. We should strive to encourage packaging, branding, blending, and other value addition elements. We must also adopt technology and innovation to product development, product diversification, continued research and development in the tea industry present an opportunity for the industry to develop products aligned to the new and emerging sophisticated consumer demands, including shifting preferences by the youthful generation. Climate change, another challenge, is impacting the tea subsector as with all other sectors of the economy. Changes in temperatures and rainfall patterns, with more floods and droughts, are steadily affecting yields, tea product quality and prices, lowering incomes and threatening rural livelihoods. These climate changes are expected to intensify, calling for urgent adaptation measures. We must design and implement climate practices that mitigate the negative impact of climate change in the sector, both on the adaptation and mitigation front, into our national tea development strategies. I am glad to note that despite the challenges that have been facing the subsector in recent years, the performance of the industry has remained afloat and weathered the challenges of the global economic shocks affecting key markets for our tea. Last year, export earnings from tea reached a record 180 billion shillings, up from 138 billion shillings the previous year. Going by the export earnings so far until the end of October this year, which is at 156 billion, compared to 141 billion for the same period of last year, it is expected that export earnings by the end of this year will rise by at least 16% to reach 211 billion. I reiterate the government's commitment to continuously address the current and emerging issues in the tea industry, looking into the future with a view to safeguarding this national heritage of Kenya, our tea, to ensure sustainability of the subsector. We need to leverage on the legacy of the last 100 years, taking into account the emerging issues. I congratulate the organizers once again for creating the opportunity for our coming together as friends, partners, colleagues, and regulators to celebrate our successes and redesign our future, bonding over a cup of tea. In an increasingly complex and ever-innovating world, we must endeavor to preserve the special place of the Kenyan tea in Kenya's history and heritage. Good people, allow me to thank you for listening, and allow me to say that the best for the Kenyan tea is ahead of us. The best of Kenyan tea is ahead of us. Tea is giving us foreign exchange, the third earner of our foreign exchange after diaspora remittances and tourism. Tea is giving us jobs, especially in rural communities and especially for our women who find a lot of decent jobs in this industry. And therefore, going forward, the government will continue to invest in this subsector. This administration, under the bottom-up economic transformation agenda, believes that the only way to revive our agriculture and take it to the next century, modernize agriculture, including tea production, is by investing and putting resources in the production process as opposed to subsidizing the consumption of our products. And it is that regard the government will continue enhancing the amounts that we allocate to the inputs that go into the production of tea, particularly fertilizer, as I have already stated, and also modernizing the technologies that we use to produce our tea to make sure that we have better quality tea production. And also, the government will continue to invest in value addition to make sure that we we increase the earnings that we get from our tea. The challenges that this sector continues to face around governance, we have begun working on those challenges, and I want to thank all the stakeholders for making this possible. The two houses of parliament, county assemblies in some respect, county governments, the national government, Ministry of Agriculture, Tea Board, KTDA, and all the actors, agents and brokers, and all the actors in the value chain. We are grateful for agreeing to cooperate for the purpose of modernizing and enhancing the value of our tea sector by improving the governance situation in the sector. And there is no turning back. Let me clarify, there is no turning back in tea, coffee, and other reforms. There is no turning back. There is no turning back. And I repeat, there is no turning back. The government will not relent. And because my last national assignment, I was the security minister of the country, I want to assure you, I will bring that firmness in this new assignment. The firmness of keeping the country first and placing the interest of our nation beyond any other interest. I therefore want to plead with us to cooperate, because the reform in the tea sector must, by all means possible. There are no two ways about it. There will be no roadblock. There will be no obstacle. There will be no hurdle. We will succeed for the sake of our country and for the sake of the farmers who sweat out to make sure that they give us this proud product that we sell and boast of all over the world. Mimi najua hapo kutakuwa na matatizo, lakini tutaendelea. We will reform our tea sector, because if it is giving us this value with all the challenges, you can imagine what it will do if we removed the challenges we have. Issues of governance are non-negotiable. They are non-negotiable. And I know what normally happens, because again of the experience I've had in other responsibilities before. Some of the entrenched practices that place a barrier on our success. Whenever there is a new holder of office, they say, we have seen many people. We have seen many ministers. We have seen many deputy presidents. We have seen many presidents. My friends, this administration is different. I assure you, President RUTO and all of us, we will succeed in reforming the tea sector. luckily, when the reforms succeed, everybody will be happy, including those who are opposing the reforms. They will be happy. But before we get there, we must do the heavy lifting. And I want to congratulate my brother CS, my brother PS, the T-board people, KTDA. So far, you have done a lot of work, and I'm sure I will pick where my predecessor left to coordinate those reforms and make sure that we succeed. The quality issue, we must address it. Some of the quality issues are beyond our control because some of the factors that are impact on our quality is, for example, climate change. But we can mitigate and adapt our production processes to make sure that we minimize the effects of climate change in the quality of our tea. Diversification, of course, venturing into new products within this tea subsector, value addition, as I have said. Kwa hayo mengi na machache na washukuru. I wish I could stay longer, but maybe next time. I have promised to, I've given my commitment to Minister Karanja and PS Rono and all the other stakeholders, including our colleagues from Parliament, the two houses of Parliament. Very soon, in the next 2 weeks, I want to invite you for a fairly informal brainstorming roundtable so that you can bring me to speed from different sectors, angles, and players where we are on this process so that as we continue working together, we are all reading from the same script. I promise we should do that, Minister, in the next 2 weeks so that we are all aligned. Nashukuru sana, nawatakia kila la heri, Mungu awabariki, Mungu awabariki nchi yetu ya Kenya. Asante. Nimesahau, I'm still learning the job. It is now my pleasure to declare this conference and this celebration officially open. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. I will request you to remain up there as we remove the podium and bring this banner so that you can receive a gift from the Chairman, Tea Board of Kenya. Mr. Chair, kindly escorted by the CEO, mweze kumpokeza His Excellency zawadi hiyo. And then as His Excellency is going to receive that, I'll request